All right, well, I'll let people in as they come in. We'll just get started. So I'll record this and I'll email it out to all you guys. That way, if people do come in late or whatever and they miss something, they can go back and watch it. So hello, everybody. I am Lane Larsen. I am the president of Clean Claims. And today, what you guys have signed up for, obviously, thanks for being here on this webinar, is just going over our proprietary remote monitoring that we offer as a company. And so we're going to highlight today, kind of like in the email that you guys saw, how it works, what it does. You know, we can go through the reporting, how you can share daily snapshots with clients that want to see what's going on. It's just giving you, highlighting, you know, the full transparency of being able to have control of your job. So the benefits of how that helps the restore, have the power in their hands and help, you know, essentially eliminate that 3-day dry out myth for the people that have that, you know, argue that problem to different adjusters or clients. We'll go through some different scenarios. I have current clients that on a few big jobs that, thank you, that are allowing us to show kind of what they're doing on their jobs and how it's helped in different ways. So again, if you have questions, don't be shy as we're going through this. Just let me know what you need and we can go through and break off into different things depending on what questions come up. So any questions to start off or just ready to get rolling? I think we're ready to go unless somebody chimes in. So awesome. All right. Okay. So going through this, the key things, and I'll show you guys what these look like. So Clean Claims, we have our own proprietary technology. So one of the key things that's big for us is that we are Wi-Fi and not Bluetooth. And so the connections that come with that. Now, the key on that is that we have our own base station. So we're not relying on the client. We're not asking them to tap into it. You guys, I'm sure, have been on projects where clients don't want to share that information. You know, they want to keep it private. And so this is our hub, you know, that we have built for Clean Claims. So the beauty of this is it just plugs into a 110 outlet. You can plug it into, you know, any type of generator on CAT events and different things. It'll work anywhere. But all it is you plug it in, you have your signal strength are the green lights that just tell you like that it's logged in. And then the blue lights are your signal strength of connection. So this is like Wi-Fi kind of military technology. And so meaning that these aren't just tied to like one cell tower or something like that. So these will connect to any, whether it's Verizon or T-Mobile or AT&T, they'll connect to whatever signal's strongest, and then you'll get that connection. So like Hurricane Ida that happened last year, for example, we helped the client on 7 different schools that they had these on. They had no service. The Verizon towers were out. They were using their satellite phones to have communication between their offices to even get what they needed. When we came to the job, we plugged this in to hook up all of our sensors to, but what's cool about this too is you can enable your own hotspot. So this can actually be turned into, you can get a password that's specific to your company and you can tap into these for Wi-Fi. So you can do Wi-Fi calling, texting, email. So it's amazing that it opens up the communication. So on these dead zones, even Hurricane Nicole that just happened, we had a lot of clients that had full service on their jobs because they had plugged these in, and then they were able to not only connect the sensors to them, but then also tap into that remote, you know, the Wi-Fi calling, text, and email. So really cool feature there. And again, you know, the big selling point is the difference between Bluetooth and Wi-Fi is you get a lot more connection. I'll show you a job downtown Nashville. We have a client that had a 32-story flood. And what was nice about the connection on these is that we were able to connect one of these on the main floor down on the floor 1. And then the sensors we were able to connect to up to 3 to 4 floors up. So about every 3rd floor level, we were able to put one of these hubs and then connect in between 3 to 4 different floors to all the sensors. So the connection, that's what makes it nice, is it connects very far and wide. So really cool tool to have. This helps out a ton, opens up that communication. This right here, just so you guys can see them. So this is our wireless thermal hygrometers. We have these manufactured, and then all the guts of it are proprietary and some of our patented information. So this right here, the thermal hygrometer, It'll take, so this is where the ambient conditions go into to get our, our temperature, humidity, GPP, dew point, vapor pressure is all coming in right here. So it's about 2 inches by 2 inches, about a ½ inch thick. And then they got a barcode on the back. And then these are all GPS tracked as well. So if you have these on job sites, you'll know exactly what room, what chamber, where they are on the job. And there's a bunch of different safety features to where technicians can't leave the job site until these are like picked up. So when the job gets complete, like you won't even be able to complete the job until these have been picked up, and you'll know exactly which ones are where. So there's some nice things there. One of the things we did with these is we built these. So the batteries on these, if I take off the case, just so you guys can see it, we had a few different prototypes we built. We went with this model because it's AA batteries, super easy to swap out. You can get rechargeables, whatever you need. Thanks to like Chuck DeWald, for example, we had these in his flood house for over a year and didn't turn them off. So every class that he had, we just left these on throughout the year, and it still had about half a battery life on all these sensors. So they don't take up hardly any life at all on AA's. So anyway, went with that feature because everybody is rolling around in restoration with AA's and batteries for other devices that they have. So put the little silicone case on to protect it, kind of like a phone protector, and then you're ready to roll. Any questions on that anybody has? That's just the thermal hygrometer right there. The other one, so what we did in the meantime, I had Protimeter actually approached us and reached out and asked why we were building our own meters, because we built these ones. And so they said, well, why don't we let you use our stuff, and then we can use our proprietary technology. So I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen these Protimeters that are their wireless ones they have. So we buy these from Protimeter currently, and then we use our proprietary technology. So these are the moisture meters. They come with 2-inch screws, and then they have the 2 contact points right here that you can put into any material. And I'll show you guys, we're going to go through this and create it in Clean Claims, how you can name the material types like north, south, east wall, base plates, whatever you need. You can get very, very specific on where you place these in different chambers and rooms. We are still manufacturing our own because I want a non-invasive. This is the only option we have currently is invasive, but I wanted a non-invasive and an invasive. And so we are beta testing a couple different options right now that we've been building. Tolgatari is a partner of mine in Clean Claims, and he's helping build and manufacture these for us as well. So anyway, cool tool to have. And then we're going to show you the benefits of remote monitoring and why you'd want these on a job. One thing too, that's nice to know is that these are a billable item. So if you're using Xactimate, for example, it's WTR RM for remote monitoring. I think in their definition right now, it's up to 10 sensors per day is $55 a day, which is great. And then our commercial clients that are doing time and materials, we have some clients that are charging $15 a day for each sensor, and then they're charging $45 a day for a hub. So if you have a bunch of hubs, you can just do the math and see the value that brings. And so the benefits, obviously, remote monitoring, and we're going to show you how this all works, is you can eliminate the main thing is usually we have to send out guys every day, 1, so that we know what's going on. 2, in order to get paid for monitoring, we have to send guys out. So you have the gas prices are insane right now. So you're paying for the fuel cost to go out, 1 or 2 guys to go out, and then the time to pay them to go out and check all this data. And so usually the only way we find out about if there's a problem or not, or if we need to move equipment around, is by sending people out. Where in this is real-time live data. And as it's happening, you can see what's going on. And we're working on the option of different alerts. So if you're stabilizing a structure, for example, and you want it to stay at like about 55 GPP, you could set alerts throughout the system to where if it hit 55 or 50, it'll alert you and tell you exactly what chamber, what room you're having a problem with, and you can make a change if you need to. Same thing, the beauty of putting all these on dehumidifiers. We put these in lay flat ducting. You can track and see what your mixed air is doing, what you're in, you're out, and everything in real time. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to show you guys this as we go through. Any questions so far from anybody? Don't hesitate to ask. Let's come in here. All right, move I hate when the Zoom tab does this. There we go. Okay, now I can see what I'm doing. All right. Okay, so we're going to come over here. I'm just going to go, these are all made up jobs, but I'm going to show you guys a real one in the meantime. So right now I've got one of these hooked up in the hallway. So if I go to my requirements, we can see ambient readings, and I can see that I've got a sensor in here. So if I click on this, it'll pull me right into the ambient conditions in the hallway. And then we have our moisture content and dehumidifier. So in ambient, this is a sensor I hooked up yesterday just so you guys can see it. So I'll kind of show you guys what it looks like as we go through. So you get the graph up here. Everybody, you guys can see, just give me a thumbs up, Ralph. I can see you. You can see my screen still, right? Everybody good? Okay, yeah. Thank you. Okay, so you get the chart up here in the graph, and then it charts out the readings down here below as well. And so I'll show you how easy it is, just to like as an example, right? So this is, as we hover right here, we have time, temperature, humidity, GPP, dew point, and vapor pressure, right? So if you watch right here, as I hover on the chart, it'll populate those exact timestamps. So these are currently set to take readings every 5 minutes automatically. So as soon as you set this, you're getting readings every 5 minutes. Now, the reason for this spike, if I click and drag and zoom in, we can see now I can see readings every 15. If I want to get more specific and click and drag, now I can see readings every 2.5 minutes. So this is just to show like this was me breathing on it, right? And I'll do it again right here. So watch over here to the right so now the button, there is a button on the front of the sensor. So if I do want to take a reading, I can click that button as many times as I want and it'll start taking readings, right? So if I do that right now, I'm just going to breathe on this. Watch the screen to the right here where my mouse is as we're doing this. And then down here on the chart, as it picks up those readings, it'll start going up and you'll see it as it happens. So again, it does it automatically every 5 minutes. I'm just pressing the button for show so you guys can see how the data comes through in real time. So if I click and drag and we come in, we can see this morning at 9:25, I was just double checking the sensor. I just started pressing the button, breathing on it, and it shot up. So the beauty of this is that this is real-time unmanipulated data. So if, it's happened countless times where it's covered our clients' butts to where, people were going in and out of their chamber when they weren't supposed to. And instead of having an argument about it, here's the proof right here showing that when it happened, when the chamber conditions changed, and like when the chamber closed, or if a dehumidifier got turned off, or if a breaker tripped, it gives you all the data in real time as it's happening. So I'm going to switch. And then again, down here, it charts it out. So it goes in chronological order of what's going on. And then you can see down here on the bottom, it has pages. So there's 10 readings per page, and then it calculates that. So if you want to go to specific pages, you can. And then if you want to change the order, so this was chronological, but let's say, I can see right here, like when the first reading was taken on the 24th. But if I click this arrow, I can change the date. So the very first reading in this scenario was on the 24th at 12:22 p.m. And you can change the time zones depending on where you're at, right? So it'll be accurate to where you are locally. And then I can change it back. So I can go from first to last or last to first. And then again, having that ability to click and drag on this to get more detailed and more specific helps a lot as well. So I'm just going to show you guys how easy these are to connect. This is built with the KISS method in mind, right? So I want any technician, no training at all, they could just go in and start doing this process, right? So I'm going to come in. Sorry, I'm going to move my screen real quick. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to come in and I'm going to add this same sensor. I'm going to switch it, in this case, you can switch these around if you need to, or however you want to do it. So we're just going to click add a remote sensor. So right here is that barcode. So these are very specific to each company and each sensor. So if you showed up to a job and you had there was another person on site that had these sensors as well, your sensors won't work for them and theirs won't work for you. They're very specific to each client in order to protect your information and what's yours, right? So in this case, I've got, all right, S7. So it has this little exclamation point, but being an admin in this account, I can say, yes, I want to deactivate that sensor and I want to switch it to a new location. So in this case, we're in the living room. So I'm just going to label it, living room. And this is where you can get specific. If it's a really big room and you want to put north side of the living room, south side, like you can get very specific where you're placing this, mounted on the north wall or whatever you want to do to make sure people know where it is. So it's as simple as you just click verify and add. and then it says press the button on the sensor to activate. And it tells you this may take up to a minute to complete. You can push the button as many times as you want. And then if it connects like it just did, and it says activated and saved and turns green. Now, if there's a problem, it'll turn red, and it'll tell you to either check the battery life or the distance of how far you are. So in the Nashville job I was telling you guys about that I'm going to show you, if we went 5 floors up from one sensor just to see how far we could connect to that hub, and it wouldn't connect. And it said that either check the battery or your distance. So then we went down to the 4th floor, and then it connected. So we knew that it was the distance in that case, not the battery. So now I hit done. We can see that the sensor has been activated, and it shows it specifically right there. And then there's those first 2 readings of me pushing the button to turn it on, right? So now again, I'm going to breathe on it just so you'll be able to see it better right here as we go. So now we can watch as it happens. So here's the data real time of exactly what's happening. So as I'm breathing on it, we're obviously seeing the increase. So, I mean, it goes without saying, but that's the beauty of how this works, is that it's real-time data. So one of the cool things that's really nice is if you want, you can actually share live links to this data. You can go back into your contacts, and if you wanted to, you can add any client, renter, property manager, or other. So we have one client, I won't say who they were, but they did an 18-day dry out on a project. And they had the 2 property managers and the adjuster on this job. They sent them view only links. So you can actually send links to different clients if you want, and they can see what's going on in real time. So in that case, they were able to send that information, and then the client every day, or the adjuster, was able to, instead of calling the contractor asking like what's going on or what's happening, they could just come in here and then click and see exactly what's going on, right? And so that makes it, again, transparency that's never existed, is like you either did it or you didn't. You can see what's going on. And then same thing with the readings on the moisture content on the, all the different materials, which I'm going to show you now too. So anyway, pretty cool to see the real-time data, what's happening. This client that did this job, it was over an 1,800-page report that they sent to the adjuster, sent in one email. Everything in Clean Claim shrinks down. So all the pictures, they had 2 Matterport sketches, 17 videos, over 1,100 pictures, and then all these charts and data, and they sent it all at the end. The client, they're doing a testimonial for us because it's amazing. They were paid $1.4 million in 4 days from a commercial job that they were on. And the reason being is that everybody was on the same page. Everybody knew what was going on and knew that about when it was going to be dry. And once it was dry, they sent the payment out and they got paid. So again, that's what it's helping do, is eliminate, like I said before, that 3-day dry out myth. It's like, even if the conditions show that the ambient readings were dry in 3 days, that's where we can get into our moisture content readings to then show and prove that as well, right? So I'm going to switch over. Any questions so far? Am I going too fast? Pretty straightforward. I'll take that as we're good to go. Don't be shy though. Ask me any questions you have as we're going through. So let me switch and show you guys this report that we did back at the experience. Let me just switch this account over real quick. Where do I go? There we go. Okay. So we'll come into here. We're going to go into this flood house that we did. So we can see our chambers and then the rooms that are inside those chambers. So in chamber 1, we had 3 rooms. In the basement, we had 1 room, right? So we can come into here, and then we're going to go on the upstairs. So we come into the monitoring, ambient right here. What's cool, so I left these sensors on for quite a while. These were on from September 7th all the way to the 28th. So I'm going to click and drag right here so we can zoom in. So this was inside the flood house when they flooded it. So they flooded the flood house. Again, if you look down here at the bottom, you can see the temperature, humidity, and times of what's going on. So as we go through, this is where they flooded it. We put in the sensors, and then we can see exactly like how it was creeping up. This little up part right here was somebody coming into the chamber and opened up the chamber, and that's why it threw it off. So again, I can click and drag, and I can zoom in on that and get very, very specific on those timelines if I need to explain that. So good example, a client comes into your chamber, you have to extend dry time by a day. Like, here's exactly where that happened, and you can't debate me on that. Again, unmanipulated data. So that's the beauty, is it's protecting us as restorers to make sure that we're getting paid for what we do. And then on the reverse side, the insurance carriers love it, because then they know that, fraud isn't being committed. So, if it took 12 days to dry out the structure and you have all the documentation proving it, then there's no way they can debate you on that, and you have to meet in the middle, right? So then we can see, as the equipment turned on and it progresses, if you watch again down here on the bottom, we can see the temperature, humidity, everything. So the temperature is blue, rising, the humidity's in yellow, GPP's purple, and we can see exactly it's doing what it's supposed to do and dropping down. And then all these little blurps are like every time somebody went into the chamber, opened up the chamber, and then messed up the setting. So huge advantage there. Another client that said I could share a story. They were in a school, and the faculty was supposed to stay out of the auditorium because it had flooded, but the band teacher kept letting them go in and practice. And they would leave the chamber open and ruin the conditions. The insurance had only approved 2 weeks to get this dry out done, and they had to extend it by a week. So what the client did is they shared this information with the principal, showed up to their office, pulled it up on their big screen TV in their conference room, and showed them like where the band was coming in and they were ruining the conditions, and how it was open. And then it would show the time as it came back down, like right here. And that was when the contractor showed up and kicked them out and closed the door. And so it wasn't even a debate whether the contractor was trying to extend the drying time or anything. It was proof, real-time data showing that if you don't stay out, this is going to keep extending. And so it was funny to hear the client came up to me, or he called me and told me that the principal reamed the faculty and just like, if you guys go in there one more time, it's going to start coming out of your pay, right? So again, it was really cool. They went an extra week, but there wasn't any debate of whether the contractor was doing their job or not. It proved that it wasn't their fault that they hadn't reached it in the 2 weeks. It was the faculty that wouldn't stay out. So again, another great example of transparency and what they did or didn't do. So in this case, I'll go over to moisture content. We can see we labeled this subfloor, and we're in the upstairs room up in here that we labeled. So now right here, you can see the blue is the temperature. Don't pay attention to that. We're actually going to take that off because we just want to get it has a temperature reading as well, but we just wanted to get the material. So as you see, as I hover right here, again, right here, time, temperature, and moisture equivalent, the very first reading right here was 42.82%, okay? And then we can watch the progression as it goes on. So this is the subfloor, and we can watch the times, what's happening, all of this in real time. And obviously you can see how it's sloping down till it's dry. And what's nice is you can actually pick the dry standard. You can force requirements to be met. So you can put in a dry standard. You can show that to the insurance carriers, to the team of like, hey, here's what it's at right now. Well, what's considered dry? And you can put all that data in here. And as soon as it reaches those points, then it'll actually show and report that data of like when you hit those standards. So if we came into our requirements right here, it would show like ambient conditions have been met, but the drywall hasn't. And that's where you can like differentiate between the two and create that transparency for everything, not only the ambient conditions, but also the moisture as well. So that's the big deal right there. So this big job, I'll show you real quick. We're going to come over here and I'll show you this one in Nashville that I got permission to show. So now the cool part is this job, they sent me the floor plans on the plane. I went out to help them. They just wanted me to come out because it was such a big job. So they sent me the floor plans of the structure. So in an hour and a half on this plane, I built out 26 chambers, like the 26 floors that were affected. And I added 178 rooms in an hour and a half. And so if you need speed on your side when you got guys coming in and you need equipment counts, and that's the beauty is when you have that, you can actually put the S500 standards are all built into this. So if they turned off the equipment requirements because we were just testing. I wanted them to see the value of what this did for them. So you can pick and choose the requirements you want: moisture content, ambient, dry standards, all that kind of stuff, right? So for example, I can click on like floor 2, and then it'll pull up the 14 rooms that are in that chamber on level 2. And then I'll click on 8A. I'll come in here into monitoring, and then I'll go into the ambient. So you can see they finished this job a few days ago. I mean, a few days, a little while ago, but you can see that the sensor's been deactivated and it's done. But what was crazy about this is a very high profile client, very hard to dry structure. Like they didn't have enough power. It was, they were calling in consultants left and right to figure this out. And then on top of that, the client was trying to get the building put back together so that he didn't get fines, and I don't blame him. But what was amazing that saved this company is that the client was sending in drywallers at 2 o'clock in the morning to start drywalling areas that were still wet. And the only reason why they knew that is because the chamber conditions would change. So right here at like 2 a.m., right? If I come in and zoom in on this. So right here, 2 a.m., we can see, I mean, we're down to every 10 minutes right here, whatever, 30. So the change, it changes the conditions. There's a better, let's see, I've got a better one on, I think it's in 10. I can't remember. There's so many different readings to get to in here, but it was, again, it created that transparency with the client and the contractor and the restorer that it wasn't their fault that like they couldn't drywall yet. Like it was showing and proving that the structure just wasn't ready. And immediately the arguments went away. As soon as these sensors got put in and they found out, they had their meeting in the morning to go over safety and everything happening. And as soon as they showed that the chamber conditions had broke at 2 o'clock in the morning, and that, you know, a new drywall was put up, that right there avoided the whole argument and created the transparency of like, hey, you know, in order to do our job, you got to let us do it. You can't be putting drywall on wet stuff, you know? And so again, anyway, transparency, it is what it is. You can't argue the facts. And then one of the key things here that was nice is that you can come into your actions tab, and then you can either share the full report or you can go into your snapshots is what we call it. So you can generate, so you have the option to send a link out if you want to see the project, and they can only look at it. They can't do anything other than that. Or you can send out the daily reports. It'll auto calculate those 24-hour periods, right? So if we went to, let's say day 2, and then I only want to share the readings. I don't need to share scope, documents, equipment. Media is like your videos and Matterport or docu-sketches. So I don't want to share notes. I could include a dry standard if we added it. So I'm going to turn all that off, and I'm going to say download the daily report. So this is where you can download these reports and then send them off every day if you wanted to at the end of the day to your clients to get an update on that day. So then they're not overwhelmed with an 1,800-page report and trying to go through it and look at it. They can just send out daily reports. And that's what that one client did that got paid $1.4 million in 4 days. While that's downloading, anybody have any questions? Am I moving too fast? Everybody too scared to talk, maybe? That's okay. Or else everybody's good. That's what I'm going to take it as. Okay, so we'll let this download. Should be, we'll see how many pages it is, but it usually goes pretty dang quick. There we go. Okay, so this is the daily report for day 2, January 4th to the 5th. And so we're going to pull this up. So you get your table of contents, your date summary of everything going on, where you're at in the project, client's information, and then now we get into the table of contents of everything going on. So what's nice about this report is it puts it all in order from project per chamber, per room, everything in order from beginning to end, right? And so in this case, we can see everywhere that we had the our readings. So we looked at these conditions. So I can come over to 9A on floor number 3. And what's nice now, instead of having to scroll through these 144 pages for the day, I can just click on that link right there. It'll bring me into 8A on chamber on floor 3. And it brings me right here to like these readings for the day. So you can see January 4th, it started right here at 12 a.m. and it's gone all the way down to 12 p.m., right? So you get the chart, you can see what's happened today. And then you also get the breakdown right here of those readings as well. And you have the option to choose if you want to share, I mean, the whole list of from 12 a.m. to 12 p.m., or you can break it down to where you only share a couple key things, and then it shows it on there. So again, it makes it nice to just see and create that transparency. And you can scroll all you want, it'll go through. So now we're still on 4.3, it's all in order. And then now we're in 9A for this sensor, right? Or the other nice thing is like, okay, I saw what I needed to see. So I can just click table of contents and it brings me right back to the beginning. So insurance carriers and clients love this just because it makes it super simple, super easy, and all your data is in one place. And again, I limited what's showing on this report. I turned off the pictures, I turned off everything. It was just the readings that I added on here, right? So again, I could go into the corridor, you know, on the same level, or I could go anywhere, 8A, and now this is floor 5. So we can come in here, we can see what's going on in here. So anyway, that's kind of the remote monitoring, what it is, like the highlight reel for you guys to see how it works, what it does, and the value that it brings, and the advantages of having our system that is Wi-Fi, your own Wi-Fi capability, the option to be able to tap into that Wi-Fi and have Wi-Fi calling, texting, and emails in dead zones, and then having the live remote monitoring, and then the connection to be able to connect. So if I stop, I'll stop sharing real quick. So these sensors, you can hook up 500 of these. Like if you mix and match these, you can hook up 500 of these to one of these hubs. That's the beauty. So these all interconnect. As you plug these into a building, they all, I can't remember the technical term, but they all like intertwine together. And so these will talk to whatever is closest to them. And so it makes it really nice to get and easy to just connect the data, right? So that is Clean Claims and the remote monitoring on how it works, what it does. Pricing on these, that's probably the next question that you guys would have. So these sensors run $219 a piece, $219 a piece. These sensors right here run $199 a piece, the moisture meters, and then the hubs, and these are all one-time payment, right? Or you can do a leasing option too if you want. And then these Wi-Fi hubs run $450 a piece. So again, think of it like equipment. When I had my 4 restoration companies, I don't know about you guys, but I always loved running out of equipment because that meant I had to go buy more. And as soon as I threw it on a job, it was paid for, right? DHUs took a couple jobs, but they were paid for pretty quick. So these are the same way. Because these are a billable item, our average client has these paid for in 1 month. I mean, we had a client in Florida with Hurricane Nicole. They had to stabilize a job, and it was about 20 days, and then it took about 15 days to dry it out. They paid for these in one job, like with what they did. So that's the beauty, is it's a billable item. All of our clients from Symbility that using Symbility to TPA work that are using Xactimate haven't had any fighting on this or any pushback from what I've heard of. I've asked all my clients that are using them, and they're like, we get paid on everything. It's amazing. So numbers to look at that are amazing too is, like, I'll just give you my numbers. Like, I mean, I sold my restoration companies 3 years ago, but in the state of Utah, where I'm currently located, like if you look out my window, like Verisk is like right here. I'm like right down the street from Xactimate. So anyway, but I would bill just in Utah, equipment setup, takedown, and monitoring. I'd probably bill just that one line item in between 10 to 15,000 a month, you know, and I'd either break even or lose money on that line item, depending on overtime, time and a half, you know, and fuel costs of where technicians are going all over the place, right? With these, what makes it nice is then when you add in this as a billable item, the 2 full-time crews that I had running to go check on jobs every day, I could now use them to go take after and go after the new jobs. So unless there was a problem, we didn't need to go out there. Now, if there was, the beauty is I knew about it sitting at my desk in my office, or my staff knew about it. And so if there was, and a client turned off the dehumidifier, that was always the best. And when you give them a call and you're like, hey, that dehumidifier shut off, and they're like, they almost get freaked out, like you have cameras in their house or something. You're just like, well, no. And you can send them that link and say, well, I know that you shut it off last night at 10 o'clock to probably go to bed, but if you don't leave those on, it's going to stay longer. So it's, again, if there's a problem, you can fix it, but you don't have to go out every day if you don't need to. Now, I'm not telling you guys how to run your business. I know a lot of clients that still use these and they still go out every day, and that's fine. It's whatever you guys want to do. But the point is that you don't have to if you don't need to. So that's a big tool. So when I started using this, for me personally, we started, you know, we were billing the equipment setup, takedown, and monitoring, but then we were billing this for the WTR RM for remote monitoring. So that one line item now is 2 line items. And because you're still charging for the setup, takedown, and monitoring, at least the first and last day, and then the in-between was this. But the beauty is then we started billing for about 20 to 25,000 a month. And we were netting in between 10 to 14 grand a month off that one line item of just remote monitoring and setup, takedown, and monitoring. So that was one line item, but then you factor in how much you're saving on fuel costs to go out every day. Again, the overtime and time and a half. So we increased our margins by 30%, just being more efficient. We didn't go out and get more business. We didn't go out and do anything other than become more efficient. And we started making a ton more money. Funny story to wrap up with you guys is I got a check from Allstate, not a check, it was an envelope from Allstate, super thick. I thought I was getting sued. I was freaking out. I was like, oh my gosh, Allstate never sends me a check this big. Like, why are they sending me, an envelope so big? So what was cool, and then now this is what's fun for me in clean claims, is clients are having the same experience, but I opened it up and it was 17 checks from 17 jobs we'd done in the last 2 weeks. All of them paid in full, not one argument, nothing, all of them just, and that became the consistency because, and we developed that reputation because with the documentation, it's again, transparency. It is what it is. You can't debate me on facts and numbers, right? And so this is where that remote monitoring on both of these comes into play and helps a ton. And then again, I know some people don't have to deal with it, but I did, about the 3-day dry out myth. That goes away. It's dry when it's dry and we can prove it. So again, I know I repeat myself a lot and I apologize, but hopefully I just wanted to hit home the highlights of what makes our technology different than what's out there, and that you can actually bill for it as well. So again, one of those clients that was doing time and materials, they were billing, I think they were billing about $3,000 a day with how much they had in that structure just to run this stuff. And so it just depends on how many of these you put in and then what you're allowed to charge. But the clients love it because again, you're that transparency. So I'll email out a pricing sheet for you guys on these sensors. If you didn't write it down, I'll email that out to everybody. But yeah, any questions? I kind of hit the key points, and I know I'm just going to keep repeating myself, and I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So any questions at all on how this works? Anything I didn't cover that you want to know about? Ralph?
So as like a starter package, you want to try it out, what would you recommend? How many pieces of equipment?
That's a good question. So what I recommend, because we were actually debating of just making a starter package, but at the end of the day, the question I ask back is, what's your average loss? You know, I would say, look at your average loss. So if you do residential, for example, you're going to need one hub per location, right? Because on a 3-4 story home, one of these will cover the whole entire home, right? Like, so you only need one of these. So that's one of those hubs. And then I look at, the question is, so if your average loss is 4 rooms, then I would say at least one of these per room or per chamber, right? Like if you wanted to put one on the main level in the basement, and then 2 of those would cover, right? So to save cost. So in that case, I'd recommend 2 to 4 of the thermal hygrometers, depending on how nuts you want to go. And then with the moisture meters, I'd recommend, again, probably 2 to 4, just being in each room. What materials are you reading? Do you want to have subfloor? Do you want to have base plate? Do you want to have drywall on the north, east, south wall? Like, that's where you can kind of go as nuts as you want. But again, you can move these around too. So I would recommend 2 to 4 of these per room as well. Like, just to get, again, depending on the materials and how many different spots you want to move them in. So hopefully that answers your question, is look at your average and then kind of go from there. So we have clients that'll dive in. We've had them do huge orders. We've had other clients order 1 hub, 3 of these and 2 of these just to start to show and prove their worth. And I love proving our worth instead of trying to convince people. Once you use it, that's what I tell people, is I can convince you all day long that this is the greatest and everything. But if you're like me, it's all BS until I can actually use it. And so that's why, if you want to start out small, you can order these and then test them out and then put in a bigger order later once you've seen what they can do and prove their worth. So hopefully that answers your questions. I know it's a broad answer, but I just go off of what's your average loss, and that's a good place to start. Scott Watson asked, can these be launched and used as data loggers without connecting to a Wi-Fi hub? Okay. Have the data. Okay. So good question. So the beauty is, hopefully this helps answer that. If these get unplugged, so you have to have these plugged in order for these to connect, right? So you have to have that initially. But if, let's say, like a breaker tripped, your generator shut off, it ran out of gas or something, if it shuts off, you do not lose the data. So you won't be getting live data. So you'll know that there's a problem. but it's still collecting the data on these sensors. So if it was like a day, you couldn't get back over there and those hubs shut off, you can come back, and as soon as you plug that hub back in and it gains connection, it'll download and dump all the information that these sensors have been collecting, and it'll dump all that information. So you never lose the data. So we've had clients to where they showed up to a job and they didn't bring enough hubs, right? So they'll plug them in, connect them by levels, and then they'll unplug this hub, move up to the next part, connect all those sensors, and then they unplug it again. So that's the beauty. Hopefully that answers your question, Scott, that if these unplug, then you're still collecting the data, but you have to have these in at first to at least connect it and then get the sensors rolling. So once you do that, you can unplug these and move them around. So hopefully that answered your question. So great safety feature for the just in case. You never lose the data. The beauty about Clean Claims is we're built on the AWS platform, Amazon, Facebook. So we have server after server after server backing all of our data, and you can't lose that data. So very, very important. Again, it's nice being from the disaster cleanup world because I know how valuable that data is and you can't lose it. So yes, if that does get unplugged, it doesn't matter. You're still going to be collecting the data. It just won't be live. But again, once you plug that back in, that hub, all the data will dump all that data and you'll get the live readings again. So, and that's one way to save money too. If you wanted to kind of hop around and plug those in at different times and collect those readings, you totally can. So, okay, good. Glad that answered your question. Any other questions? If you guys wanted a more in-depth demo of like the software itself, you can go to cleanclaims.com and just request the demo, and we can do one-on-one and show you how it all works and runs, and get you guys set up on a trial to try it out if you like.
Lane, I think Kenneth sent in a question.
Oh, Kenneth did. Let's see. Did I miss it? Oh, yes. Okay. Are carriers accepting your reporting and Mika, or do they still have to enter the data into Mika? Okay. Good question. Thanks for telling me that. I missed that one. So with Mika, our big push right now that we've been doing, I don't know if I should say anything, but yeah, just keep this all between us. And this is recorded. No, I'm just kidding. It's fine. So our big thing that we've been doing is, so I was just in LA last week at the CoreLogic conference and met with John Michael and Linda Falcone. And we have approval to get in with 100 different contractors with Alacrity to start proving the solution, right? So our big push that we're trying to do is either integrate into Mika or be another option. You know, Mika is great. I've used Mika, but we want this software to be approved as a preferred vendor, right? That is what, if you're using this, then you don't have to use Mika. So that's the conversations we've been having. And then we've had conversations with Lance Malcolm with Contractor Connection as well, and it had great conversations with them. So essentially what we talked about is doing joint marketing. We want to prove the product and how good it is. And so they're willing to do some joint marketing with us and get contractors signed up to do it. So if you guys are on the preferred list, like vendor list, if you're using Alacrity and Contractor Connection, please reach out. We would love to get people using this and probably even give the option to have a few of these at no cost to try out. So if you guys have some interest and you want to try this out, and we can talk to Alacrity and Contractor Connection and get you on that list of contractors that we want to have using it, we would love to get the feedback and prove exactly what it's doing. So yes. Okay, is that all the questions? Okay, so I just missed Kenneth. Does that answer your question, Kenneth? I hope. We're working on being another option. So currently, clients that have to use Mika, they will download the PDF from Clean Claims, and they do upload all that information into there. But I'm actually taking Cole with CoreLogic out snowmobiling on Friday. And so we're going to talk some more, and we're getting in with CoreLogic to see if we can integrate into Dash as well, so that we're eliminating that double, triple entry. Because we have integrations with PSA, with Accelerate, and it's amazing because even though it's two different systems, with our integrations, it makes it feel like you're in one system. So then you're not having to go back and forth and do that double, triple entry that we all hate, right? Did somebody else answer a question that I missed? Oh, I think we're good. Okay.
So Lane, on your sensors, do they have to be screwed into the wall? So if you're going to take readings of drywall, are you having to screw that sensor onto the wall?
Correct. Yeah, you do. And that's again why we're manufacturing a non-penetrating, because I want non-penetrating, right? So it was great, and we are very grateful for Protimeter to like let us use this and then put our proprietary technology into it. But we are beta testing non-invasive meters right now that will probably be out in the next 3 to 5 months, I'd say. But yes, currently, to answer your question, so you can change the screw sizes. They just have to be stainless steel. They come with these 2-inch screws. So if you did need to do drywall, you obviously don't need that much to go in unless you got double drywall, but you can change the lengths of these depending on the material too.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You bet. So yes, please reach out, go to cleanclaims.com and request a demo. It's my calendar on Calendly that I've set there. So if you guys want to go more into depth on how these works and get set up on a trial to test it out, and are interested in working with us with Alacrity and Contractor Connection, please let us know, because the more people we have using it, the better. You know, we just want to prove our worth. And that's actually what we told John Myko too, and Linda, is like, hey, we don't need special treatment. We want the product that speaks for itself. So it's like, we just need it to get it in the hands of people and then let them use it, you know. And John Myko was very flattering. And, you know, he was saying how much he loved the product and what it does, you know, for not only the restorer, but the carriers as well, you know. So it's just a great way to bridge that gap and create that transparency. So yes, please reach out. I'd love to work with any of you guys that want to try it out. So, and again, like I said, if you're on that, I'd be happy to probably get you guys some of these to just try out as well. So let me know. Great questions. Any other questions, things you guys want to go over that that I happen to miss, or you got anything else? Oh, here we go. Oh, there we go. I think Jake, my marketing guy, just put in a link in the chat where the Calendly. So you can click on that link right there and request a demo. And that'll just go to my calendar, and that opens up days and availability that works for you, and just goes to my calendar automatically. So awesome. Well, if there's no other questions, I really appreciate you guys' time jumping on. I'll send out this recording to everybody. So if you want to share it, and people that couldn't make it today, that they have it. And then I'll send out the pricing breakdown of the sensors and the hubs as well. So awesome. Okay. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining. I look forward to talking to you guys more, and have a great rest of your week. Thanks so much.